Surprise, surprise, surprise drop.
This is a Rough Tiger production.
And you, and you, and you, and you were there. Some of it wasn't very nice, but most of it was beautiful. It gets worse and worse. Hey, you didn't tell me you were going to do that. That's
Recording in progress.
hello. This is Dream
Hey.
Idiots. And this is one of the surprise drop episodes. We'll be doing a few of these between now and the end of the year as a way to say thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for writing in and chiming in and passenger pigeoning in. But we've got a few of these planned for you. Just little, I won't call them mini-sodes, but just little kind of off the cuff episodes we're going to be dropping in here and there between now and the end of the holiday season.
That's right. We should hit episode 100 on, is it Christmas Day or the day after Christmas?
I think it's the day after, but I'm
Day
bad.
after,
I'm
yeah.
bad
So
with.
December 26th. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, we appreciate everything that you're doing for us. Thanks for listening to all of our nonsense. His name is Morris, by the way. My name is Bryan.
Oh,
We
I forgot
appreciate you
about that.
joining us. And check us out, dreamidiots.com, Facebook and Instagram at Dream Idiots. Drop us a line at Dream Idiots Podcast. We have some other things coming up in the works as well. We'll let you know about over the next few weeks, but please like and share and subscribe and post places that where your online presence is. Share our stuff. We appreciate it.
And this is episode 86. And what we decided to do is we decided to have our first little surprise drop episode on Friday the 13th in the spookiest month of the calendar, October, Friday the 13th, October 2023. And we thought we'd talk about phobias, our 10 most interesting phobias that we came across. Because, Bryan, you did a phobia story earlier in the year, and I kind of wanted to pick back up on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I think it was paired with my Wojtek episode, if I recall correctly. Where does the Friday the 13th come from? Well, not all cultures fear the number 13. This seems to be a primarily uh, British American thing. You might not have like I believe it's Italy. It's Friday the 17th is a problematic one. Down in Latin America, it might be, I think it's Tuesday the 13th. So these things kind of change around the globe.
Oh wow.
A lot of folks have traced Fear of Friday the 13th to a 1907 book by a guy named Thomas William Lawson called Friday the 13th. And it's about a stockbroker who does some really bad stuff. I'll let you look it up if you want. Of course, we've had the Friday the 13th movies. We've had all kinds of Friday the 13th stuff. It always makes a big deal. Years can have up to 3 Friday the 13ths in them, depending
Mm-hmm.
on when the calendar starts, as few as one. This year, I believe we have 2 Friday the 13ths, one of them falling in, of course, this month of October, which leads me to my first phobia, Bryan,
Mm-hmm.
and
Good.
that is triskaidekaphobia, the fear of the number 13.
Okay.
I don't have this fear. I've always thought the number 13 was very cool. In our particular North American culture, maybe it stems from perhaps the depiction of The Last Supper by Leonardo. I believe his name is Da Vinci.
uh,
It's old JC hanging out with his 12 buddies there. 13 of them in this painting, perhaps. There's also the tale
oh.
of a famous meeting of the Norse gods, where 12 of the Norse gods were invited, but a 13th one, that little bastard Loki, showed up. The trickster god showed up as a 13th uninvited guest. We have all kinds of mentions of the number 13, 13 witches in a coven, for example. Legally, we have where we get a baker's dozen from is 13. And that had to do, of course, with when bread was sold by weight, in case you had a bunch of air pockets in the bread and you ordered, say, 13 biscuits or 13 scones. You might order a dozen, but the baker would throw in a 13th one to make sure that
Just
the
in
weight
case.
was just in case the weight wasn't right. And growing up, my favorite basketball player was number 13, James Silas, Captain Late from the San Antonio
Oh,
Spurs.
wow,
So
okay.
whenever I played YMCA basketball, I always tried to get number 13 for my shirt number. So that's my first one on the list. Number 10 on our list, triskaidekaphobia, fear of the
Okay,
number
so
thirteen.
it's not the fear of Triscuits. That's good to know.
It is not. That's right.
And I assumed the whole 13 origin had to be. I mean, all those things are just weird fears like that are always going to be rooted in some medieval nonsense, religion stuff, or witches, or one of those things. Yeah. So
Right. There's 12 disciples, 12 months on the calendar, 12 astrological signs.
right.
Although I believe at one point there was a 13th astrological sign, the starfish, Oculus, I think was his name. Kane Potok in a book wrote about that, the 13th sign on the astrological chart, because it makes sense
Uh,
because 52 weeks in a year, it's not divisible evenly by 12, right? It is
right.
divisible equally by 13. So it would make sense that it'd be 13 astrological signs, not 12. So maybe we shaved off that 13th one just to make it not that wicked number of 13.
Yeah, could be. I don't know. No idea. I sort of, on a half dozen occasions, I've noticed, I've gone into buildings that are, more than 14 floors and just, climbed into the elevator and looked over and like, are you kidding me? Really? 12, 14, 13th floor is gone. Like, okay. Superstitions just, like to hang around.
And of course, those buildings often do actually have a 13th floor. You just have to know how to hit the buttons just right to get to
Oh,
that floor.
is
No,
that really true?
I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you.
like I'd never heard that part. Okay. All right. So the phobias, since we talked about phobias before, and I don't remember what I really what we even talked about. It's been so long. So hopefully I'm not repeating myself, but if I've forgotten, I trust you have forgotten as well. I decided to go for some of these fears that I had these are not fears that I have, but fears that most of these are things that I've sort of personally witnessed anyway. And people have people suffering from. The first one is trypophobia, trypophobia, phobia.
Okay, so number 9 on our list is trypophobia. All right, and that's the
I'm not.
fear of
It
holes.
is the
Okay.
weird. So people that see a photo, watching TV and or just looking anywhere really, Swiss cheese or a picture of a honeycomb or a sponge, anything that has holes in it. On numerous occasions, I've witnessed people see that and go, "Oh God," and have to block their eyes, and it's definitely a pretty severe aversion to it. And I think if you really have this and stared at it long enough, it would manifest in in potentially bad ways, nausea, vomiting, all kinds of bad things. So it's a real thing. And apparently it can be treated, but you have to really go through some OCD type treatments for it.
I suspect aversion therapy.
Aversion, right.
There's a dried plant or flower that they have that has little like brownish seeds inside of big holes rolling around. They sell
Uh,
like in Michael's. That one always gets me kind of itchy and scratchy and not wanting to look at it very long. There was a character in a season of American Horror Story that had this problem, that had this not problem, had this fear
uh,
that showed up. Sarah Paulson, I think, played the character in one of the seasons. I
okay.
want to say it was the season subtitled "Cult" had tryptophobia. Yeah, that's a rough one. That's a rough
Mm-hmm.
one. So that was number 9. Number 8. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you finished with
Yeah,
yours?
go ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
go.
Number 8, coulrophobia, fear of clowns. And this one's fairly obvious when you think about it, given the terror these well-meaning folks often strike into the hearts of just about everyone they meet. And they're not helped by popular culture renditions like, oh, I don't know, Pennywise the Clown from Stephen King's It, Springfield's Krusty the Clown,
Right.
and the Joker, of course, from Batman comics, insane clown posse made up of insane looking clowns. I remember the getting back to Krusty. I remember the episode of Simpsons where Homer built Bart the clown bed because he knew he liked clowns so
Uh-huh.
much, and it was a terrifying looking bed, and Bart was not sleeping well, and all he could say was, "Can't sleep, clown will get me." So, can't sleep, clown will get me. And then there's real life assholes like John Wayne Gacy, of course, who was Pogo the Clown, and I think his other ego was Patches the Clown. And
Mhm.
he used a traditional clown makeup designs on his face. He had the hard triangular edges to his makeup as opposed to the soft rounded edges you're supposed to use. So one of the reasons Pogo looks so creepy and off, and you can't quite tell at first, why does he look so off? It's because he's got those hardened triangular edges. And of course, the clown sightings that we've had throughout. I mean, at least when I was a kid, I remember hearing about clown sightings in the 80s. It seemed to, we talked about this a little bit about traveling from coast to coast. There were sightings in Massachusetts, Chicago, Phoenix, Arizona, California. There were
A
sightings, I
clown's
believe, is
a clown sighting? Just
yeah. You don't remember hearing about this? Just
no,
like
no.
homicidal clowns and clouds trying to get kids to get into vans and stuff.
No.
And there was it was centered mainly around Chicago, but I want to say it started in Massachusetts, and it started in the early '80s, and then it's lasted throughout. Of course, there was a bunch in England recently. They've happened all across North America, England, Italy, Brazil, Honduras. Sometimes they wander around with machetes. Um, there was one that was particularly terrifying in England in 2018. I've never been particularly dealt with clowns one way or the other. Yeah, I don't really have an opinion one way or the other.
Right.
I kind of wonder how mimes fit into the equation. Um,
Uh-huh.
they're more of and God bless you if you're out there and you're a mime. I know you're not going to say anything back to me, but uh, it takes a real talent to be a mime, but it's also it can be real
Yeah.
annoying and kind of
Yeah.
off-putting when you're in a crowd and a mime keeps following you around and around and around. Less of a fear there, but that's
Right.
number 8. Chlorophobia, fear of clowns.
Yeah, the one fear I have a clear memory of is, remember there was a clown in Poltergeist that is
Oh yeah.
the brothers, and this clown just staring at him, and yeah, so yeah, that was the one clown. Like, yeah, I'm not a fan of clowns.
The clown's near your bed or under your bed. That's a sign
Yeah.
that things are going to go
Right,
sideways
right,
really quickly.
right. All right, next one, number 7.
Yep.
So this one might actually be. I don't really believe this is a new one, unquote, but someone on Reddit claims to have coined this in as recently as 2019. Pulsophobia, Pulsa phobia. It's not cardiophobia. It's not hemophobia. Pulsophobia is anxious, sort of OCD response to the auditory perception of a heartbeat. Again, this is one I have witnessed on several occasions. So you're watching TV, you're watching Dateline NBC, and there is some hour-long documentary about some awful murder case, and there's the woman or the kid hiding in the closet, and the sound effect they use is the beating heart. And but this is a real thing that just that sound playing can cause people to have to stick their fingers in their ears and go la la la, I'm not listening, because it again, it can just provoke this overriding sense of sort of doom and fear and sickness, just listening to a heartbeat.
Hmm. I've not heard of that one. I mean, it can be certainly unsettling in a film if it's used right.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
in order to amp up, it's certainly intended to ratchet up the stress, but if you have sensitivity to this, it really can be quite debilitating.
okay, I'd not heard of that one. Have you seen someone do this? Like where they just
Yeah, several
oh
times. Like, oh, go, okay,
wow.
da, stop.
Mute.
Right. Uh,
Number 6 on my list, and Bryan, I think this is one that you probably are borderline suffering from this, and you probably don't know it.
uh-huh.
Kotsabophobia. Kotsabophobia.
Cot sabophobia.
Mm-hmm. Kotsabophobia.
No idea.
Bryan, this is a fear of mascots, like at sporting events. Given your overall performance, I mean, you did well last time, but given your overall performance in the college mascot, college name quiz game we do here, it's a fear of generally life-sized human mascots. I mean, have you ever? I mean, I've seen kids react to these things like it's like the old Robin Williams joke. Mickey Mouse isn't fun at Disneyland for a little kid. Mickey Mouse is a big fucking rat. That was his old joke. But one time, I can't remember. I know it was basketball. I think it might have been at one of the NCAA Minnesota Finals fours. There was this big bit where one of the mascots came out and it had a big tummy, and this guy was messing around with the mascot. The mascot opened its mouth and swallowed the guy.
Right.
And kind of walked up.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
The exact same bit a dozen times.
Yeah.
Right.
Not. I've only seen it once or twice, but this little kid behind me knows what he saw and lost his shit. I mean, he was just, and he was just, and then suddenly it was just the eyes got big and it got quiet. I said, "Oh, this kid's about to lose it," and he lost it because he just saw a guy get eaten by a friendly cartoon thing
right.
in the middle of the basketball court, and I think the reaction, everybody else is clapping and laughing. This kid knows what he just saw. It's kind of like that clip you send me of the little girl with the goat, right? She knows what she saw.
Right.
That was an effing goat in the garden, no matter what her mom says. And the worst part was the dad was like, "Don't be such a baby." It's like, he is a baby. He's like 3. My God,
right.
I'd be filling my
saw
pants.
It. He knows what he saw.
I'd be filling my pants too if that thing. And then later on, it comes into the stands and the kid starts crying again. It's like, of course he's gonna cry. He saw what that thing did at halftime to that guy.
Yeah, stay away from me.
So number 6, katsabophobia.
Katsabophobia. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a good one. All right, next one, number 5. I believe this is pronounced kumpunophobia. Koumpoun Kumpunophobia.
A fear of the French version of Three's Company.
Wow, you got it right away. So kumpunophobia is according to my research, is very, very rare. It is the fear of buttons, not computer keyboard buttons, like shirt buttons. So sufferers that have this, I mean, it's very clearly, and I hate to laugh, kind of a trauma response of some sort, because buttons provoke fear and anxiety. Because I mean, if you have this fear of button, I mean, getting dressed must be impossible, and you must rely on things that have Velcro and zippers, I guess. I don't know,
or hooks and eyes or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything's all your shirts are pullover, I guess, right? But so they have this perception that buttons are dirty, and they fear touching them at all, on themselves or on someone else. So they don't wear them all. They're scared of buttons worn by other people. So it's very clearly it's tied to some sort of negative experience. But again, it's an OCD anxiety response, which apparently can be treated. But it's a real, genuine mental health disorder.
That might be the worst one we've covered so far, Bryan. That's rough.
Yeah.
I mean, so does this apply just to the button and the hole, or does it apply to like the pearl snap buttons that the pearl snap buttons that you would wear like on a Western shirt where it's the snap buttons?
No, is it well, in the articles I read about it, all the pictures show sort of what I would call a traditional button that has 4 holes in the middle, so it's actually sewn on. So a common traditional shirt button, sweater button, whatever, of various sizes. And so one of the images I saw was like this, the sewing basket with pieces of cloth and this pile of random buttons of various sizes, right? That I'm sure would just cause one of these folks to lose their mind. Like, I'm gonna go rock in the corner now. Just awful. But it apparently can be treated.
That's a rough one.
Yeah, wear lycra, I guess, is the lesson there.
Yes. Number 4, and I don't know how common this one is because I've never known someone who's had this. Samhainophobia.
Spell that?
Samhain, a phobia. And I believe that there's another
Oh,
way to
yeah.
pronounce this.
Sam
Uh,
Hine.
Samhain or Sahain. I think the M might be silent. Samhainophobia is the fear of Halloween, the
Oh.
festival of Samhain or the holiday of Samhain
Oh,
or
okay. Yeah,
Sahain, because
sure.
I can't pronounce it properly. But do you know of anybody who suffers from the fear of Halloween, which is just 18 days away as this will drop? I can't think. I know people who don't care for
No,
Halloween, but a fear of Halloween. I mean, unless you're Laurie
no.
Strode or one of the kids from the Halloween movies. Uh, I I'm quite the opposite. I love Halloween. It's probably in my top three holidays.
Really?
Um, oh yeah, yeah. My the only time I ever came close to fear of Halloween was my next door neighbor, my buddy, back in Houston, the NBA's oldest ball boy, my next door neighbor, who would put up his Halloween decorations October 1st. And one of them was a murder scene like CSI, and there was a silhouette of a guy stabbing someone, and I would always catch it out of the corner of my eye from my kitchen, and it would scare the bejesus out of me every time, even though I knew it was there. That
Hmm.
was the only thing remotely close to it on the fear of Halloween. And I had a couple good scares as a kid on Halloween.
Right.
But I don't know anybody specifically who like has to go away out of the city or completely shut down their house on Halloween myself.
Huh. Now, I don't know anyone that's ever had it. I really do hope that I may have helped inspire at least a few cases because one year in the house I grew up in, I was still a pretty young kid, but I decided to forego trick or treating, and my father had somehow rigged a ghost on a pulley system that through an upstairs window, and it came down to the light post right near our driveway. So it traveled a pretty good distance. We took the screen off, and there was a little system on it, so that you could. It was just on a coat hanger, I think, but it looked great. So kids would start walking up the driveway, you'd let it go, and it would come wafting down, and it was moving fast enough so that the bed sheet would kind of waft back. And there were lots of kids who were a little bit afraid. There were a half dozen kids who just fled in terror. Like, oh, no, next house, we are out of here. So it's pretty funny.
There's no treats at the treat household. It's all tricks. Yeah, this holiday season.
Uh-huh.
All right, what's number 3 on our list, Brian? What you got for us?
Number 3, again, I suspect this is one that I have. The last one, by the way, I didn't have firsthand experience. I've never met someone with the fear of buttons. This one, I think I have had some experience with. Emetophobia, EMETO phobia, and there's nothing in that really gives it away.
Mm-mm.
But I guarantee you, I back in the days of college, I think this must be something this is ringing a bell. Emetophobia is a specific phobia involving intense and persistent fear of vomiting. I've known a few people that it doesn't matter how much they drink, it doesn't matter if they have the flu, it doesn't matter how sick they get, nothing is coming out. They're going to take whatever medicine they have to. They just like, nope, no, it went in that way. Nothing is coming out. I don't care what you tell me. Like, you'll feel better if you just get some of the, you're sick. You'll feel better if you, nope, not doing it. Like, I promise you'll feel, So I personally am the opposite. I'm a big advocate for upset stomach. Happy to unload some of the cargo.
To worship at the porcelain altar for a while.
Yeah, that's easily done that, and certainly have known and dated many women who did that daily. But this is the other extreme.
That's I never heard of that one before. I mean, I can understand it. It's kind of like, you're worried that you're going to literally cough up a lung or barf up your stomach or uh I don't know, damage your throat in some way in doing it, I guess.
I guess just
That's
do a tiny bit. You'll feel some of these people. If you're out there suffering feeling nauseous, just give it a try. You'll feel something. This is your body trying to make you feel better, and you're repressing it. Don't do that.
Did you ever hear Spalding Gray's bit about when he was performing and he landed the role of the stage manager in Thornton Wilder's Our Town?
Uh-huh.
And I don't think this was at the Alley in Houston, Texas, but he was performing this, and there was a kid who was, I think he played the paper boy, and at the end of and he was running this incredible fever, this kid, and they're like, go home, we'll work around it, go home. And he said, no, I want to do it, I want to do it. So at the end of the play, when all the dead are seated on stage in Our Town, and Spalding Gray's giving the monologue, and the kid's just sitting there suffering, just in silence. And he gets up and he's giving the final bit, and the line is something like, and what are the dead waiting for? They're waiting for the eternal part of them to come out. And the kid at that point stood up and vomited everywhere on the stage. And there said that was the entire, everybody in the theater was just dead silent except for one second grade boy sitting in the first row who knows what just happened, and he's telling everybody about it as loudly as he can. Emetophobia, right? Emetophobia, like
emetophobia. Yep.
Okay. Number 2, Bryan, and I couldn't find a specific name for this, so if you know it, let me know. The closest I could come from was papyrophobia. Papyrophobia. Paprophobia.
Paprophobia. Fear of paprika. No.
Well, fear of paper is the closest thing I could come up with. But what it was I knew someone who had a fear of paper straw wrappers.
Oh, I've encountered that too, because I recall torturing someone in a McDonald's one time because I didn't believe them. So it exists.
I mean, to the point where they would get up and leave the table. I mean, it was it was a very honest, and I thought they were jerking my chain, and like I put a little drop on the paper to make it scrunch up and do the thing that it does when you hit it. I felt awful because it's like, oh my God, they I guess I should believe people. So I don't know if that has a name. The closest I could come up with is papyrophobia, paprophobia. I can never say that word. Like papyrus, papyrus.
Right.
Paprophobia is the closest I could get. The fear of paper straw wrappers. That's number 2.
That's a good one
on the list. Yeah, and I've seen it in action,
like
and it's real, and I felt awful when it happened. Guess I should have believed them.
Yeah, I didn't feel awful. I thought it was funny, but as we know, I'm not a good person. All right, last one. So, number 1 on our list of phobias. This is not quite right. You can call this logophobia. You can call it verbophobia. There are a whole bunch of phobias related to the use or pronunciation or mispronunciation or misused or words that are misused or misspelled. It drives me crazy when I see someone type Y-O-U-R, meaning when they mean Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. It's not a phobia, but it does sort of drive me a little bit crazy. Or I had a friend for years and years who couldn't say. We may have talked about this when we talked about mondegreens. I had a friend who couldn't say supposedly, would always say supposedly. Yeah, that's not a word. And so, but it's verbophobia might be as close as you can get to an actual phobia, but there is this notion of word aversion. There are words that people just friggin' hate, and they hate the word partially because of the connotation of the word, but partially just because of how it sounds when it comes out of their mouth. I guess how it sort of feels, how their mouth feels when they have to say it. So
moist. It's moist.
Well, yeah, moist is for years and years and years now, and there are tons of articles. If you look up moist word aversion, there are articles in the New York Times about how moist is at the top of everyone's list of words that they don't like. But hoist is just fine. So it's obviously the connotation, but other words that make the list: ointment, panties,
Yep. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Curd, as in cottage cheese. Curd. Rural. Secretion. Pouch. Baggy. Penetrate. Seepage. Seepage is pretty bad. Pus. Putrid. Bunion. Fester. Discharge. And my personal favorite, phlegm. So all of those words year after year seem to test pretty high on the word aversion list.
That's my cousin Flam. He's down here from the northern part of the state. Hey, Bryan. So if you work down in the seafood industry and you have to get, you know, stuff from the boat to the shore, do you have to hoist moist oysters?
Yes, yeah. Exactly right.
So it's called verbophobia.
It's look up verbophobia or logophobia. I mean, they're all kinds of
Okay.
different. How words sound. Then there's the fear of long words, and there's the fear of words that are mispronounced, and there's the fear of words that are misused. Like, oh my god. So it's not quite right, but word aversion is what it's also called. And moist. There's a British writer, this woman named Susie Dent, who's she's written several books, and I caught part of an interview with her years ago, and they asked her, asking about the word of the year. Post truth was I think she was the one that may have actually coined the term post truth. And then this interviewer asked her what words she hates, and she said, "My two least favorite words of all time are moist and gusset."
Gusset. Is that a what is gusset? Is that a tailor term or a clothing term? No, what is that?
Yeah, a
What the hell
gusset's
is a gusset?
it's I think a gusset's like a girdle.
Oh,
But
all
it's
right.
also a verb. You can be gusseted again. I don't know. I thought I thought it was funny that
What
this
if it's what if we're
PhD in
totally
linguistic moist.
what if it's something totally raw? It's not. What if gusset is totally awful? And we were totally wrong about that. So related to that, I had one that did not make the list because it's slightly related to what you're just talking about, but yeah, it's a triangular or rhomboidal piece of fabric inserted to a seam to add breadth and reduce stress from tight fitting clothing. Okay, gusset. All right. I wouldn't call it a fear, but it's more of an annoyance. I think I talked about this before. I hate it when I have to. Okay, I hate it when people mess up the national anthem. And I mean, it's not fear inducing, but it's
uh,
cringe inducing to the point where sometimes I get so nervous that I just have to inside my head. I'm like la 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 la, like at sporting events when it's someone and you're waiting for the screw up at some point. They're
right.
like they're gonna get something wrong. They're gonna because it's a hard song to sing to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
and the lyrics they're not that great. So I've always had this fear of having to sing the national anthem solo,
And
messing it
screwing up.
up, and then being there when some. And I've been to numerous. I remember this one dude got up at a Spurs game once, and I mean,
Just butchered it.
butchered it. It was just like it was like a 30-second version of the national anthem, which is fine with me because I
Right.
think you know how I feel about them singing. Save that for the World Series, save it for the
Right.
Super
Right.
Bowl. Don't do it at
Right.
every game.
Right.
And one last
Oh,
one.
cat. That's right.
Um, here's one that I think every dog has.
Okay.
Zweigerphobia. Zuiger phobia. Zweigerphobia.
No
I
idea.
know both my dogs have it. Fear of vacuum cleaners.
Oh yeah.
So that almost made my list for the
I
dog
have.
folks out there.
I actually have that one.
You have that one?
Yeah, I bark at it.
You bark at it and start licking yourself and to calm yourself down.
Nervously, right? Right.
Oh, he always does that when the vacuum cleaner's out. No, he just always does that. It's all right. Well, there you go. Our 10 phobias on this surprise drop episode of Dream Idiots for you on this Friday the 13th.
And
These
I should say that Friday the 13th is also your birthday.
you remembered.
Mhm.
Well,
So happy
I'm
birthday
thank
to
you
my
very much.
illustrious co-host Morris. Please
I
send in your best holiday greetings via email.
I
His
was
personal email address is no.
I was not born on the Friday the 13th, but I came real close. And I celebrated my 30th birthday alone on Friday the 13th by going to see the re-release of The Exorcist. If that's not classy and fun,
Uh-huh.
I don't know what is.
Hmm.
In Salt Lake City. Did I mention that part? That part was great.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, thank you, Bryan. Thank you for the
Yeah.
birthday wishes on this Friday the 13th. Which is one of the reasons I never found an unlucky number. I always thought it was a cool number.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's it for this surprise drop. Be on the lookout for some more between now and the end of the year.
Yes. Thanks for listening. Like and share and subscribe. Check us out online wherever you're listening. Give us 5 stars if you can. We'd appreciate it. And we're going to be back yakking at you again soon.
And be good to each other, especially today. Ooh.
This is a Rough Tiger production.
Bong bong,
Mm-hmm.
Bryan.
Bong bong?
Bong bong.
Bong bong. Good.